Story 1. As a teen and even a young adult, I would sleep like every other night because I would never put down that PlayStation controller. I just cannot get into them now. Believe me, I want to relive those good old days staying up all night gaming. I just cannot. Story 2. Drinking alcohol was fun and exciting as a teenager, getting drunk and doing stupid things with your friends. Then the years start going by and your friend group starts to shrink, and eventually it's just you drinking alone, wondering what happened. Story 3. Gaming used to be on the console for hours during the weekends. I wasn't addicted, but I really enjoyed the 1.5 or 2 hours of daily gaming time, during weekends only. As I grew older, I simply have no interest in any games or the console entirely. There isn't anything exciting to look forward to with modern games. Story 4. I used to abduct people for short periods, wearing a mask and taking them back to my house to talk to them about life, and then I would drop them off somewhere. But I'm too scared to do it anymore. One girl actually gave me her number, but I never called because she was blonde, and I prefer brunettes. Plus, her name was Lola, which always seemed like a sketchy name to me. Story 5. I am 57 and have been playing video games since the Atari 2600. I find that I enjoy gaming less and less these days, to the point that I rarely play anymore. It is sad because video games have always been near and dear to my heart, and they have also always been the best source of relaxation. I miss being able to tune out for an hour or two a night and just immerse myself in a world other than the monotonous one that I currently live in. Story 6. Getting drunk. I just cannot bring myself to do it now. I have a few drinks and stop myself. I do not want to be seen as drunk or out of control. I also do not want that wave of nausea to hit me just as I close my eyes to sleep. I am just over it basically. Story 7. Not to be dramatic, but I remember playing Barbie with my sister one night before bed, and we kind of just sat there blankly like, why does this feel different now? It was like my youth died overnight, and suddenly our toys were just pieces of plastic. Pretending felt embarrassing, and there was this feeling in the pit of my stomach that felt like mourning. Story 8. I used to play every weekend at a casino upstate 90 minutes away, probably about $10,000 lifetime playing in cash and tournament games. Then I bought my home and it stopped being fun. Something about betting a mortgage payment. Story 9. Constantly being around people. I used to go to friends' houses every day after work or school and stay there until I was ready to go home and go to bed. Now, I only allocate one day a week toward going out, and I'm usually home before 9. Story 10. Action movies, especially high-intensity action movies, can often feel meaningless. Revenge movies, in particular, lack depth. Most of my favorite films combine action, comedy, brilliant storytelling, great character arcs, and emotion that resonates. They also feature an amazing, well-written script that ensures nothing is unnecessary. I can often predict the main character in many action movies. A divorced ex-veteran struggling in life with only partial custody of their child. The ex-partner disapproves of the child spending time with the ex-veteran because he is always distracted and facing challenges. Eventually, either the child or the ex-partner ends up in grave danger, and the protagonist must rely on brute force and their long-dormant fighting skills to save the day and become a hero. That's the typical formula for American action movies. Story 11. Swimming pools. I lived in the pool as a kid and even as a teenager and in my early 20s. Now, pools are usually gross, cold, and not worth the effort of having to change, shower, get dressed again, and so on. Story 12. Making furniture. Tried making a living at it, failed, and have no interest in woodworking anymore. Do what you love and the money will flow out of your savings. Story 13. Skiing is too expensive, too cold, and involves a lot of driving to get to and from the location. With all the waiting in lift lines and on the lift itself, you end up spending maybe 20% of the time actually skiing. It hurts when you fall. And when everything works, it's just going down a mountain. So what? Story 14. Sugary breakfast cereal. Maybe I got soft in my college years, but that stuff not only started to taste terrible, it felt like it was actively gouging my gums as I ate it. Also, running down the stairs taking 2 steps at a time. As a kid, it felt like you were flying. As an adult, it feels like something bad is going to happen. Story 15. Extreme sports, snowboarding, wakeboarding, etc. It's not even the nature of the sport itself. I just don't feel like getting up super early to drive to the mountain, pay $120 for a ticket, stand in lift lines all day, and deal with snowy roads. I'll go to the mountain, but I kind of want to just chill by the bonfires and enjoy some drinks. Story 16. Video games. I'm sure others share this sentiment as well. I just don't have the time anymore, and I also feel oddly drained when playing games that I used to enjoy. Story 17. I used to love reading manga and watching anime. It was a good escape, and there was so much good stuff out there. Now, I can't tell you the last time I picked up either. I know I tried a few years ago with rewatching an anime I had loved, but I had to stop after barely one episode. It just wasn't the same feeling. Story 18. Having friends in your teens and early 20s is awesome. Beyond 25, though, most people will only spend time with you if they want you to loan them $50 they'll never pay back. Story 19. Fast food chains such as McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken. When I was younger, it was the best thing in the world, and I could eat it every day. But now I'd be surprised if I eat it in a month. I just do not want it. Story 20. Gaming. Don't get me wrong, I'll still hop on Dead by Daylight every now and then or Need for Speed Heat. But I don't game for long periods of time anymore, and I can't remember the last time I got excited about playing a new game. Maybe when I started playing Genshin Impact last year. Story 21. Watching sports. I used to watch as many sporting events as I had access to. These days, I'm lucky if I catch a college football game. I don't really mind the change, but I do miss a full weekend in front of the TV of college football, Ultimate Fighting Championship, National Football League, and a random golf tournament. Story 22. Watching sports. I used to watch as many sporting events as I had access to. These days, I'm lucky if I catch a college football game. I don't really mind the change, but I do miss a full weekend in front of the TV of college football, Ultimate Fighting Championship, National Football League, and a random golf tournament. Story 23. Around my mid-20s, I started to become much more introverted. I still like going to some social events, but only once in a while. Every weekend, I used to have plans to go out somewhere, but now I actually enjoy relaxing at home. Another thing is drinking heavily. I still drink, but in moderation. My days of being a weekend warrior and having a severe hangover every Sunday and Monday are over. The unfortunate part about that is I lost a few friends who happened to be functioning alcoholics. A few actually took offense that I don't get heavily inebriated with them constantly anymore. Oh well. Story 24. Spending time with people. I find everyone annoying after a few hours. Leave me alone in my little cave. Thank you. In a more serious answer, it's because I get angry that I can barely hold in when around others. I've bruised and scratched up my knuckles more times than I can count and even managed to dent my fridge door one time. I used to love these people, but now I only care at a distance. I don't know why they make me feel so mad. Mental health is really challenging. Story 25. When I used to paint, I would have to devote at least 4 hours at a time working on a piece. I simply don't have the ability to devote a chunk of time like that anymore. Someday, though, I'll pick it up again. Story 26. People, small talk, people, shopping, people. Yes, I think it's pretty much anything where the majority of people are buried in the small box in their hands, unable to have a semi-intelligent conversation without having to Google everything. It's hard to hear an original thought these days. It seems most just want to fit into a ridiculous mold that breeds ignorance and stupidity, or they want to repeat foolish things they heard or saw on a reel or TikTok. I'm in no way the smartest person, but I crave conversations that induce thought and questions. A simple back and forth without a pre-recorded tone pulling all attention from the present person in front of them. Story 27. Being in the pit at concerts. I used to love getting rowdy in general admission areas or at do-it-yourself shows. It was what I looked forward to every weekend, but I have a hurt knee now and honestly like being able to sit and enjoy a concert. Story 28. Lego, absolutely loved it as a kid, but now it isn't fun. Same with making model kits. I built maybe 200 as a teenager, and I totally get people who still enjoy this. I don't think it's not for grown-ups or something like that. It just isn't fun anymore. Story 29. Sports. Too many subscriptions. The athletes are all businesses unto themselves. The transient nature of teams. You are essentially screaming at a television to root for a jersey color. I still respect athletes and do watch major sporting events, but the days of me watching a season of baseball or football are over. Story 30. Helping oneself? Beating the meat? Going solo? Whatever you call it now, no matter how badly I want it, I don't have the energy or the mental bandwidth to do it myself. I want someone else to do it for me. Story 31. Politics. You grow up and realize your idealism was really just hollow. You learn how the system really works, that people in media you tend to agree with are horribly withholding facts to keep you outraged at some mythical evil other side, and that it's really just a pathetic sporting game played in the political arena instead of a sporting arena. It's all just a show meant to entertain you to get your vote. You're just cheering for the Republicans instead of the Longhorns. But it's the same fandom culture that's just a pathetic waste of time. Story 32. Drinking to excess and going to loud and crowded bars. Literally sounds like hell to me now. Like if I died and woke up in that situation, I'd know I did something wrong. Story 33. I'm 28, and I'm pretty sure I'm aging in reverse because staying home and enjoying the little things has gotten old for me. I realized this when I went on the Eras tour and to a 1990s nostalgia night at a local nightclub. Those nights were the most fun I've ever had in my life. It's devastating because everyone I know who's my age is bored of these things. Story 34. I would say going out to bars and downtown areas. When I was younger, I loved to go out and play. Now that I'm 39, I hate going out and don't want to deal with other people's nonsense. I would rather stay home, make dinner, and drink. Story 35. Video games after my second child. I play maybe 2 hours a week, and I don't enjoy it that much. I do it mostly because once a week my wife does her nails, and I just game because what else am I going to do? Story 36. As soon as I stopped drinking alcohol and taking drugs, I also stopped going out and socializing. I am also a lot happier, nicer, and less weirdly paranoid. Story 37. I used to get so creative with my action figures. I had complex scenarios and stories unfolding as I would tangle my room up with GIMP, a roll of flexible, bendy string. It was great as Spider-Man's web strings. I'd spend hours playing. And then one day I just stopped. You never notice it until years later. It's like a switch gets flipped. I think in my case, it was because I had so many other options to be creative and entertained. Video games, reading, art, music, movies, those things replaced my need for action and stories in the form of a dramatic action figure session. Story 38. Sketching and drawing. Is my fault really? After a harsh critique from an art teacher, I kind of stopped. I want to get back into it so bad. But the motivation is gone. Story 39. Music. I used to have music playing all the time. Literally all the time. From the minute I woke up to the minute I fell asleep, I had some kind of music going. Story 40. I used to hate when summer ended as a kid. But as I've gotten older, I started getting sun sick more and more often. I'd sometimes vomit, faint, get bad migraines, and overall feel like death if the sun even touched my skin. Not just the sun sickness, but it's also just really miserable for me to function in. It's very hot, humid, all sticky and uncomfortable because of the sweat sometimes. I can't stand it. Give me snow or rain all year round, and I'd be euphoric. Story 41. Concerts. I went to concerts nearly every month when I was in my late teens and early 20s. Now they are like $100 or more per ticket for the worst seats ever. Too loud, too crowded. Cannot see the artist past the 6'5" people who congregate in the front, and I do not get home until after midnight. I will still go see a live performance if it is $40 or less and at a smaller or local venue, but my days of music festivals and large concerts are over. Story 42. Video games. I just wasn't able to enjoy them as much as I became an adult and took on more responsibilities. I later came to the realization that I would play them when I was younger to dodge my responsibilities at the time. I didn't want to do that as an adult, especially once I got married. Story 43. Loved roller coasters and cool rides but just can't be bothered. I live close to Orlando, but just can't fathom paying exorbitant prices to stand in lines for hours for a 3-minute ride. Story 44. Slowly cut back on my drinking starting at 60, 68 now, and I don't drink at all. I was never a big drinker except for my college days. I feel so much better since I quit. Story 45. Drinking and partying? But honestly, I think you stop trying to convince yourself that you enjoy things you don't when you get older. Maybe tabletop role-playing games? They can be so stressful or slow. I do have some great memories playing Dungeons and Dragons or Call of Cthulhu, so I'm undecided about this one. Story 46. I still like some like George Carlin, Doug Stanhope, and Dave Chappelle. But nowadays, mostly with new comics, I'll just find myself thinking, all right, settle down there, try hard. Story 47. Being a promiscuous man got me into some bad situations with women, and now I have a child with a girl I didn't want to be with. Honestly, it made me hate sex for a while. I've been with so many women that sex is like a cookie or ice cream. I love it, but I could take it or leave it at this point. I just want the money now. Story 48. The reason? People ruined it for me, and by the time most humans weren't doing that, people were just not something I was fond of anymore.